Thief is the first book in a series called Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Percy, which is short for Perseus, if you might remember him from your mythology lessons, the one who killed Medusa. Percy Jackson is about to be kicked out of a boarding school for troubled teenagers again. This is the 6th one in 6 years. But these really strange things keep happening to him. He is attacked by his math teacher, who turns into this weird monster. Then he kills her with a pen that turns into a sword. And when he goes outside to tell his fellow students and teachers about it, they act like she never existed. Eventually, Perseus finds out that he's not quite what he thought he was on a strange trip to the beach with his mother. He finds out some of the truth about his birth. Annabeth said, "You don't just choose a cabin, Percy. It depends on who your parents are, or your parent." She stared at me, waiting for me to get it. "My mom is Sally Jackson," I said. "That's not what I mean. I'm talking about your other parent, your dad." "He's dead. I never knew him." Annabeth sighed. Clearly, she'd had this conversation before with other kids. "Your father's not dead, Percy." "How can you say that? You don't know him." "No, of course not." "Then how can you say, because I know you? You wouldn't be here if you weren't one of us. You don't know anything about me." "No." She raised an eyebrow. "I bet you moved from school to school. I bet you were kicked out of a lot of them. Diagnosed with dyslexia, probably ADHD too." I tried to swallow my embarrassment. "What does that have to do with anything?" "Taken together, it's an almost sure sign. The letters float off the page when you read, right? That's because your mind is hardwired for ancient Greek. And the ADHD? You're impulsive, can't sit still in the classroom. That's your battlefield reflexes. In a real fight, they'd keep you alive. As for the attention problems, that's because you see too much, Percy, not too little. Your senses are better than a regular mortal's. Of course, the teachers want you medicated. Most of them are monsters. They don't want you seeing them for what they are." "You sound like you went through the same thing." "Most of the kids here did. If you weren't like us, you couldn't have survived the Minotaur, much less the ambrosia and nectar." "Ambrosia and nectar." "The food and drink we were giving you to make you better. That stuff would have killed a normal kid. It would have turned your blood to fire and your bones to sand, and you'd be dead. Face it, you're a half-blood." "A half-blood?" I was reeling with so many questions I didn't know where to start. "Don't you get it, Percy? You are home. This is the only safe place on earth for kids like us." "You mean mentally disturbed kids?" "I mean not human. Not totally human anyway. Half human." "Half human and half what?" "I think you know." I didn't want to admit it, but I was afraid I did. I felt a tingling in my limbs, a sensation I sometimes felt when my mom talked about my dad. "God," I said. "Half God." Annabeth nodded. "Your father isn't dead, Percy. He's one of the Olympians." So, Percy is the son of a Greek god. Because of this, he must go to the special camp for kids like him. They're called half-bloods. It's the only way he'll be able to survive. Eventually, he and 2 of his friends, Annabeth and Grover, are sent on a mission. If they fail on this mission, it will be the end of life as we know it. There'll be a horrific battle between the gods, and all of the mortal life will be destroyed. The bad thing is, whether he succeeds or not, he may be put to death anyway, because he was never meant to be born. So, to find out what happens, pick up The Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan.